Welcome to Fresh Perspectives. We are going to kick it off here. We've got an amazing panel for you all. We're going to kick it off and ask the panelists to go around the horn here. Introduce yourself and what office you're from, how long you've been licensed, and what you did in your previous life. Kick it off for us, Ben.
I've been licensed for 7 months, and before this, I was a professional wrestling commentator.
Wow.
Whoa.
That's incredible. Are you serious?
It's really cool.
I was on 38th The Spot every Saturday night for and I currently own my own pro wrestling company in Kansas City.
That's awesome.
Oh.
I had no idea. That is so cool.
Yep.
All
So
right.
John, he knows voices. So when he says that you're
exactly.
Yeah, I was like, John, I hear talent here.
I haven't watched since the Attitude Era, so I don't know if I know much about wrestling anymore.
Yeah, it's way different. Wow.
John, go ahead.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am John Shelley. I'm at the Lease Summit office. I've been licensed for about 18 months, a little over a year. And before, I was actually in leasing, so I've never not done real estate.
Very good. Very good. Sarah?
My name is Sarah Rupp. I'm out of the Northland office. And and I've been licensed for a little over a year now. And before real estate, I was the lead esthetician at a resort in charge of education, product sales, and knowledge, all that fun stuff. So, yeah.
Very good. Megan.
Good morning. I'm Megan Bosley. I'm at the Blue Valley office with Daryl Stiles and Alex. I got licensed in September of 17, so kind of an old newbie, I guess. And before this, I was a stay-at-home mama.
Very good. And Farah.
Let me unmute myself. Hi guys, I'm Farah Hassanzadeh and I am representing the Prairie Village office. I have been licensed for 3.5 years. And prior to real estate, I was in the beer industry. I did sales, on-premise sales. The last company I was with was Heineken USA. And I don't even drink beer, but that's what I was doing before.
There you go. Now, Ben, do you wrestle?
Oh God, no. I have more. I'm too old and I have more intelligence than that. So I don't want to hurt. I respect my guys, but I don't want to get hurt. So
I have to ask. If Farah says she worked in the beer industry and didn't drink beer, I had to ask if
Yeah. Farah, I got to tell you, from one good hair to your hair is incredible.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, it's
yesterday. It's been I've been recovering from COVID and all this weird stuff.
Oh no.
I got red today. Thank you.
I mean, everyone else's hair is great too, but I'm just saying.
I feel slighted, Ben. Thank you.
I shaved too. I like the stash is on point.
All right, let's dive in here. If anyone, we've got a lot of people on. If you've got questions for them, please put them in chat, and I'll ask them. I've got some questions that they haven't even seen my list of questions. I'm going to surprise them with some questions. I promise they're not hard, panelists. But first thing, and whoever can jump in first, tell us as you've got, we've got everything from 7 months to almost 3.5 years as far as our experience level on our panel, which is awesome. And I know you all have had some great success. You all are thriving right now. And we're all so proud of you. But I want you to think back. Some of you are going to have to think back a little bit longer. What was the best piece of advice you got when you first got licensed?
Well, this is like a funny one because of right now, but Whitney Renfro, I can't speak this morning, was our trainer. And she said, just come into the office, and just be there. And even if you don't have business going on, go in and just get a good routine going. And so my first year I got 2 board calls, really good ones, from just being in the office. And then I learned a lot just from just being there and being around other agents. If anything popped in my head or I was in the middle of something, the Prairie Village was office was awesome because I could turn to whoever was next to me and ask a question, and everybody was so helpful. So just being there, even if I didn't have business.
All right, that's great advice. And I know there are some other panelists that can, that have very, very similar stories. Ben, I know that that's something that you've been licensed 7 months, and that's something that you did from the get-go and has led to some successes. Talk about that.
Yeah, it's funny that she was saying that, because I was like, that is the main reason that I'm actually here, is because pre-COVID, post-COVID, all that kind of, or post-COVID, whatever. I continually go into the office, and there's days when I'm the only person in, and I would say that right now 80% of my business has been generated from board calls.
Wow.
So it also presents a unique challenge in the fact that because it's not from my sphere, because I don't have a very big one, the clients tend to be a little bit more difficult. So I've had to scratch and claw every single deal that I've gotten, because they don't know me, I don't know them, so there's not that pre-existing relationship. So it actually makes it a little bit more difficult, that you have to really kind of just go cold with them, almost like you're cold calling, and then just try to develop relationships with them on the fly. And there's times where I've literally taken a board call and I'm, heading 30 minutes, 40 minutes south, north, whatever, to meet up with clients, so I can, because they want to look at houses and they want to look at them now. So I have to fly out of the office and meet them where they're at. But it's been really good. I've been, I heard while we were waiting to be on, I heard a board call and my skin started to itch, because I was like, somebody else is getting my stuff. I can't do this. I gotta get off right now. But it's been very, very beneficial for me. So.
Very good. John, Sarah, Megan, best piece of advice you got as you got started?
I would say the best piece of advice I got, which came from one of our amazing agents in the Blue Valley office, was that there's enough to go around. And I think when you're new and you're first starting and you have someone and you find out that they used an agent, you're like, oh man, it feels so discouraging, or sometimes it can even hurt your feelings. But I think it's so true. And it's funny when I look at my client base now, the connections that I have with my clients, because my experience is the opposite of Ben's. Like, I came in and my experience was through all the networks and people that I already knew. And there's a lot of agents in the Blue Valley office that we all have kind of the same network. Mm-hmm. So that was interesting. But for me, I think it was just reminding myself, like, hey, you don't know what connection's going to come through, or who's going to drop your name, or what referral you're going to get. So don't ever get discouraged. Just always know that there is enough to go around.
It's true.
Very good. John, Sarah, anything to add on that one?
I'd say, go ahead, John.
Well, I was just going to say, maybe not the best piece I've had, and maybe this is not what newer agents want to hear, but if you have like a bad feeling about a client, just don't take them. Like, it's one of those things where you can run in circles and do a whole lot of work and then never get paid. And I mean, that's not like the primary reason, but it's just one of those things where it's like, I know it's on like kind of the negative side, but I had one of my first listings was an experience like that. And I was just like, I knew right off the bat, it was weird. It felt weird. And then within 2 weeks, they had another agent. So one of those things.
That's a tough one, especially when you're new. You want to say yes to everything. You don't want to turn down business. And as you start getting a little bit busier and kind of learning the ropes a little bit, you realize that you don't necessarily have to say yes to everything. And some of them aren't worth saying yes to, because like you said, you're going to run around and spend all of this time with one person, one client that's really not going to help you in the long run. And that's a tough one as a new agent, because you want to say yes to everything.
I always try to go on the positive side that like everything's an opportunity, but at some points things are not, and they're just like real time burners. So yeah. That's
a good one. I think recognizing what are the time burners, what are the things that are gonna help make you money. That's what we're in it for, right?
No.
I hope. Sarah, what were you going to add?
Well, I think I got pieces of advice, just all those things that everyone has mentioned. So something a little different was, as Megan was kind of saying, don't take it too personally, but also learn how to de-stress and what your de-stressors are, because there are people that are going to run you ragged, and the more that you can have your own personal time and kind of zen up again and realign, you can be there for people a little bit better. So just, separating yourself and taking time where real estate is not number one.
Sarah, do you remember that first panel that I was on and you asked a bunch of questions? And I think one of the questions that you asked and I answered was, when you have a downtime, take it and relax and take care of yourself. Because I specifically remember this coming from you, because I think we all just like, when we have to go, we're on, and it's like go. And then when you start to slow down, you kind of all get anxious and we're like, jonesing for our next move. But I think that's a great point that Sarah brings up, is that, when you have downtime, be grateful for it, get yourself back on track, kind of get grounded again. I find myself getting totally ungrounded, especially on top of this COVID thing, is just trying to be a teacher and a mom and work and do all this stuff. So I had a lot of downtime in March and April, and it was kind of hard on me, but I've finally figured out kind of how to reground and go from there. And it's definitely helped.
You bring up a good intro into another question, Megan, and that is, you all have had to make some pretty quick adjustments as we've completely changed and kind of upended our worlds and how we're working. And, a lot of things that we would normally tell new agents to do, we can't necessarily do right now. And that's, a lot of open houses and knocking on doors and, those farming activities. Going into the office even can be a little bit stressful for, and some people just aren't there yet. They don't want to go into the office. So what are some things that you all have done in the last, 4 or 5 months that have helped you kind of readjust and refocus? And tell me a little bit about how you've adjusted and what those routines look like now, how you've overcome those.
So
go ahead, Sarah.
Okay. I've been doing a lot of Zoom meetings, visual and virtual showings for clients. I feel like now people are okay with coming in and doing an actual showing. But just kind of staying safe, wearing the mask, providing hand sanitizer. I'm also just calling and reaching out to people and seeing how they're doing with everything going on. Zoom meetups with friends and stuff like that. Honestly, I've been hanging out with friends. I've been doing all that stuff anymore, so don't feel like it's as affecting, or just my personal sphere is pretty much okay with getting together. So anymore, I don't really feel that it's necessarily as much of a challenge, but yeah.
For me, I was, the whole beginning of the lockdown when we couldn't go into the office was super taxing. I don't know how to work from home. Honestly, I'm used to going somewhere, having things to do, and I really fell out of my routine, and it really threw me through a loop for about a month and a half. And I really honestly didn't do anything for about a month and a half. I just could not motivate myself to go and do anything. I was just like, what am I doing? Like, I just was uninspired and not ready to go. But when things started easing up, I realized that there was either a chance to either come back into the office and start making things happen, or I was going to have to figure out how to do it from home. So for me, it's really beneficial for me to come back into the office. And I knew that I was going to be one of the only people there. So, the COVID thing wasn't really top on my list of concerns, because I knew it was going to be me, Dan, and a couple other people. So going back into the office was, super beneficial for me, but also establishing like a good morning routine again. Morning routines are the most important thing that I have learned in this last year, 7 months of real estate, of life in general, is to have, yeah, cat. Is to have a super.
That's not the first one that's come through. That's just one of them. I'm a crazy cat lady.
It's super, you know, John kind of hit on something, and I hope he kind of expands on it in a minute, is I had to switch my focus from, you know, kind of down in the dumps to where is the opportunity in this? Where is the opportunity in these times? And for me, one of the opportunities is branding myself, using this time to create my own thing, because at the end of the day, the agents love the realtor. They're not necessarily like Better Homes and Gardens fans, they're realtor fans. So trying to develop, you know, but you know, BHG is the best realty company in Kansas City.
You know what you're saying, Ben.
But it is, it's very important to brand yourself. And I have worked exceptionally hard to create a niche for myself that isn't typical real estate niche. So that's kind of where my focus is, and that's how I'm trying to build my business.
Very good. We'll come back to that in just a few minutes, and I want you to expand on that a little bit. But anybody else? Farah, Megan, John?
Yeah, I just started like when I had kind of a similar experience where I was like not doing anything for the first couple of weeks other than just focusing on the transactions I had to close. And then just kind of well, I'm stuck in the house. What can I do? So I started just getting dressed in the morning like I was going to go to a showing. And then that kind of like would snap me back into like business mode, pants on, collared shirt. And that kind of was like a weird little mental cue that helped me out a bunch.
That's good.
That's awesome.
I think the mental part of that is a really important thing. It took me like a month and a half. So I was also like John, just trying and praying and hoping that my stuff under contract would close. I did lose a deal at the beginning when this all hit, which was such a bummer. So that kind of got me down. And then add on homeschooling two crazies, single mom here. It was really fun. Not fun at all. So I kind of took a long mental break because they were on my computer 24/7. And I think it took me like a month. And then like, I kind of was like, okay, again, you've got to get yourself grounded here, like get it together. So just getting dressed and doing those things were good. And also just, you know, trying to really focus on, we were all going to struggle, right? Everybody's going to have rough times. I think we're all in a struggle situation just with this COVID thing. So I just kind of went back to the basics of what can I do that's good for myself? What can I do that's good for my people, my clients? And I will tell you, I'm terrible at phone calls. I hate them. When I completed Ninja in February, it was like, I fail at phone calls. But I would occasionally force myself. And every time I did, my heart would just be like so full because my clients probably are feeling the same way as I was feeling. And it was so refreshing. So I would just force myself to kind of try to make small efforts here and there, knowing that it just wasn't my time to go out there and kill it. Like it just wasn't going to happen. It was a struggle. And so I just kind of succumbed to that and just kind of wrote it out for a little bit. And that's how I survived it.
It's amazing what happens when mentally you can just accept it.
Yeah.
And give yourself some grace.
Yeah.
And then you'll get back up and re-energize yourself and you have. Farah.
I feel like I blacked it out. Like I'm like, did that even happen? Maybe it was because I was drinking so much wine, but other than that,
that too.
I love Instagram stories. So I feel like that's like a free, like, and it's just like free marketing and it's like letting everybody know what you're doing. So if I was at it showing, it was like, I got the face mask on and I would do like home tours and stuff if I was out. And just like letting everyone know, like, hey, we're doing it safe, but real estate is essential. It's, you know, shelter and it's an essential thing. And I'm out there and I'm doing it in a safe way. And I would put like a lot of stuff on stories. So I feel like last month June was my best month on record during like COVID. And I think
Good
July,
job.
I might have better numbers in July. Like it's been crazy. And I had COVID. I know it was like the hot topic in the Prairie Village office on Friday, but I'm in the clear now and I'm not contagious anymore.
Good.
That's great.
But
glad
yeah,
you're
like
okay.
with COVID, I had like the best month on record so far in my real estate career. So just, yeah.
Congratulations. That's awesome. So what Vera touched on social media. I know a lot of you are pretty active on social media. What have you been doing that kind of helps, and not just with COVID, but just in general with business? What advice can you give somebody that's getting into the business that, you know, has no idea? A lot of people getting in don't have a big budget for marketing and to market themselves. So they've got to do it in ways that's organic. What advice do you have for them in regard to social media or some things that you all have done that have been successful on social?
I mean, yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Farah.
I was gonna say, yeah, I love the Instagram stories. That's my like, because I don't have to put too much thought into it, and it's kind of just instant and like people, and then people choose to look at it too. So, and then I feel like it's just, yeah, being in like that, like top of mind and the sphere, people that are choosing to look at your story that already know you, like you, trust you. And then it's just a constant reminder, like, hey, I'm out there and I do real estate. So like people I haven't seen in, you know, like years will like reach out and like, hey, like I know you're in real estate. I have a question about something, or like I have a referral. So I've gotten, like, I feel like a ton of business from Instagram.
I think that's really smart. That was a solid move. I did the opposite, which was not beneficial to my business at all. I just kind of like paused. So I do kind of regret that, honestly.
Or even if I like wasn't out, I'd be like, hey, look at my plants in my house.
Yeah, just keeping yourself on top
I
of
try to
people's
do like
minds.
the home stuff or like decor, like, hey, like I'm doing a little house project right now, and I would put that on there if I wasn't out working. It'd be like, well, I'm stuck at home, like I'm gonna do a little house project and I'm gonna put it on my Instagram story.
That's awesome. Sarah, you're really active on social. Tell us some things that you've done that have been kind of beneficial to jumpstart your business.
So polls, like, do you like bedroom or do you like this bedroom? You know, even just like happy Monday, where's your happy place? And posting a picture of that. I get really good comments on stuff like that. At the beginning of COVID, before masks were cool, I was going out doing showings and doing the same thing that you were doing, Farah. You know, posting it like, hey, being safe, videos, all that stuff. And I got some really negative feedback on it, just from some different people. So it made me a little bit wary, and not everyone, but some people were like, that's why you're my realtor. And now that person is contacting me for a deal. So I've kind of had some, you know, varying.
What was the negative? Like what did people say that was negative?
Oh gosh, it was like a paragraph of stuff. And I'm like, oh gosh, this is the last thing I want. And one was a family member too. And so I reached out to them, you know, privately. And I'm like, you do realize that this is my marketing, guys. Come on, please, you know, as they were going to an appraisal, but that's okay. You know, besides the point, you know, and so I've been a little bit hesitant to post too much stuff at showings, maybe like a scenery or something like that of like, oh my gosh, look at this beautiful backyard at this house, or something like that. But been a little bit wary about the face masks after that whole situation. And this was before we were even closed down.
Like somebody like political, like face mask stuff.
Basically, they're from California, and they're a realtor in California that I'm friends with, and just went on and on about how, you know, blah, blah, blah. So it just made me like, that's the last thing that I want people seeing on something that I'm doing to be positive and, you know, proactive. So yeah.
It can be tough right now because there's a lot of, I mean, everybody has handled COVID just from an emotional, mental state very differently. You know, unfortunately, and we're not going there, but you know, it's gone way political with a lot of things. But you know, we had to be real careful as everything was going on lockdown because there were some, you know, everybody's kind of in a different place in terms of how they felt what we should all be doing and what we should all not be doing. And so it was tough, I know, from your all's perspective on what you should and shouldn't do on social. And sometimes it's like Sarah, you just, you know, you think you're doing the right thing and then you get huge backlash from it. And so then you kind of take a step back and a little bit more cautious. But you know, I feel like we've kind of gotten over that hump a little bit. Sarah, somebody asked me in chat, do you do the questions, the polls, do you do those on Facebook or Instagram?
Facebook, yeah.
Okay.
And I find a lot of really great content and stuff on Pinterest that I think you could probably use for Instagram too. I'm not the greatest at Instagram, and that's one thing that I really need to have you do another social media Instagram boot camp.
There is one coming.
Yeah, I need to step up my game on that. But yeah, everything I do is Facebook wise, or which
very good.
Or just you know, out enjoying the day, doing something fun. You know, like you said, you know, just random stuff to stay.
A lot of times, like Farrah's hit on it, and Sarah, a lot of times it's, you know, when you go to social, it's about more than just who wants to buy or sell a house, because nobody's going to respond to that. You've got to, you know, share and be social. It is social media.
It's staying top of mind, like just letting people know that you're there and relevant, and
commenting on people's things too, you know, and not just posting, but being interactive with it as well.
Yeah, being social. Ben?
Right.
I'm gonna let Ben talk for a minute.
I cannot. I am not a fan of social media, and it's my biggest struggle. I want pretty much nothing to do with social media, but I realize it's an important part of kind of being a real estate agent. But I will say that I think there are ways. I think just it allows me to be a little bit more creative. So I recently started a YouTube channel because I am not afraid to talk or speak in front of a camera, obviously, or large crowds of people. So I think that's kind of, so my goal now is to pop in to social media and be like, hey, go look at my YouTube channel, and then just get out real quick.
And get out, get it done.
YouTube channel is so we can watch it.
Sarah,
yes, I want to see this.
What's your YouTube channel, Ben? I'm gonna
put it in the chat.
I'll put a link up. I don't know. Like my whole brand is wrestling with real estate, because wrestling, get it?
Makes sense. I like it.
I mean, it's an MMA battle, the whole process. It is.
But to speak to Sarah's point, like if I was to tell a new agent anything, it's like, I have an agent friend of mine in Colorado, and he posts nothing but political stuff. And if I were in that market, I would want nothing to do with him, because the last thing I want to think about when I'm trying to purchase a house is your opinion on political issues. So you need to be yourself, and you need to keep your opinion of the world out of it. Sarah's mask thing has nothing to do with politics. Sarah was just doing what she felt was necessary. So those people, and that's one of the things I don't like about social media. So you pop in, you promote your business, you interact with people, but you have to block the negativity, because if you let those people bring you down, then you're going to be at their level. And what we need to do is we need to be leaders in not only in our industry, but in the community. So rise above that kind of stuff, and don't let the negativity get to you, but be yourself. You know, I recognize that I'm never going to be the Instagram, Snapchat. First of all, I'm too old. Secondly, like, I'm just not that guy. I'm not going to be on, you know, doing all that kind of stuff. It's not my thing. But you have to figure out what is your thing and connect with that. You know, some people can't cold call, some people can't do door knocking. Well, if you don't do that, you need to do something. So
Ben, I love the fact that you just said that, because I think that as realtors, we all feel like we have to do social and you have to be on it, and you don't. If it's not your thing, if you can't do it and do it with 100%, don't feel like you have to do it. There's other ways that you can compensate for it. You know, it's not a have to. And I think a lot of agents get stuck thinking, I'm never going to succeed if I don't do social. And that's not, that's not true. Look at the people that have been doing this for 30, 40 years and the success they've had, and they didn't have Facebook, they didn't have Instagram, and they did it with some of the old fashioned basics, the door knocking, the farming, the face-to-face, belly-to-belly stuff, which is harder to do right now, but we're finding ways around that.
Absolutely.
John, anything to add on social?
I really do kind of the basic bare minimum. Like I post my listings and my closings, and whenever I get good reviews, I'd say I was kind of taking notes on my phone here about the polls and stuff, because I still struggle with it and need ideas. So
yeah, it's a constant challenge, and I know content is a constant challenge, and we had some good, I know that it was overwhelming, but last year when we did our social media boot camp, I think it really helped get people past kind of over that hump of, posting the low-hanging fruit when you're in real estate, to really kind of going beyond that to what Sarah's talking about, and Farah about, posting about your life and posting about the interesting things that you get to do every day in real estate. So we'll be doing another one of those soon.
I will say, for the people that aren't like social media lovers, and I'm not either, I'm kind of with Ben and John on this. I do the bare minimum just to keep myself relevant. But if you follow some of our agents that are really good at it, it is super inspirational. So I'm going to have to start following Farah. I follow Chelsea Dillon. She kills it on Instagram. Just follow some agents. And then that way it's like, free info, and it's nice to see that and be refreshed, because you're like, oh, well, I'm seeing it and so is everyone else. So I would definitely recommend you guys start following some fellow agents that are really good at it or that do enjoy it.
That's great advice. Great advice. Let's turn our focus back to kind of real estate transactions. And I want John, Sarah, and Ben to answer this, since you're the newest. Our veterans, Megan and Farah, you'll have to jog your memories too much. Tell us where your first transaction came from. What was the source of it? Was it an open house, social?
Mine came from my friend of my grandma's. And it was actually completely insane. I should probably write a paper on it. It was so complicated. And it didn't end up closing, actually, but it was my official first listing.
Very good. Now, that's not the one you should have said no to, right?
No,
Okay,
this one, reverse mortgage.
Oh, geez.
Title company.
You've said enough.
Yep. Title company thought my client was dead, so we had to prove they were alive. It was.
Oh my gosh.
It was nuts.
That's right.
I was telling Ben earlier. He got on a few minutes earlier, and we were chatting, and he was like, gosh, he's like, how come I can't get like a normal transaction? I'm like, there is no such thing. There's no such thing as a normal transaction.
If it's too normal, I start to really stress out inside, because I'm like, what's going on? What's crazy gonna happen? It really freaks me out.
Sarah, where was your first source of your first transaction? And other question too, how long did it take you from the time you got licensed, the time you got your first transaction? I forgot to throw that one in there.
So mine was basically right away, and it was someone I worked with previously, and it's actually finally closing, I believe in August now, finally. So it's been a very hard road, and it's one of those that I probably should have said no to. And I've had many other closings since then, thankfully. But yeah.
Very good. Ben, what about you?
So are we talking first like closed transaction, or are we talking about first like on the books? Like what are we talking about here?
Either one, whichever one you want.
So my first closed transaction came from actually a wrestling contact who was a fan of my wrestling organization, who I had known for a couple of years, and he hit me up and he's like, hey, you want to sell my house for me? And I was like, sure. And that was by far the easiest transaction. The dude was so on top of everything. I mean, we were literally under contract in one day. I got him $5,500 over market, and it was just like the smoothest transaction ever. And then every transaction after that has been a dogfight. Has
Then you
literally been.
got introduced to the real world.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then the second one was from a board call from this guy who wanted to sell his brother's house in Sugar Creek, and he was like, "Can you sell my house?" And I was like, "Sure." And he's a realtor from California. I mean, I was born and raised in California. I came out here 3 years ago, and he is he's from California, so.
Enough said.
Yeah, he knows it all because he's done $45 million in transactions this year, and so it was difficult, but I've learned a lot in every transaction. So
what are this is for everybody. As people are getting in the business, we've got a lot of newer agents that are on this. We've got some veterans that are on this. How do you get over as a new agent that new agent stigma with your clients? What have you done to overcome that?
I just kind of don't reference it, like, oh, you're my first. Don't say that, and then try not to say like I don't know. I always just try and be like, oh, you know what, I haven't run into this before. Let me check with this person or whatever, because I don't know is just kind of like it's a conversation stopper, and then it's just like, oh, do you know anything? What do you know? Do you know what's going on? That kind of stuff.
It's a good way to word it.
boom.
So just kind of,
I like
guess
that
the old
wording a
fake it
lot.
till you make it.
Yeah. I will say, going on 3 years, there's still stuff that I don't know. Some of the newer agents that I'm mentoring, I tell them all the time, like, every transaction you will learn something new. So I never feel bad for saying, you know what, I'm not sure, but I'll find out for you. I say that one a lot. And I will say briefly, on my first ever deal, close, and client, I was at the office waiting early and no one else was there. And one of the things that she requested was an experienced agent. And so I had to just right out of the gate be like, well, I didn't say I wasn't experienced, but I basically was like, yeah, well, I can co-list with someone, and that worked. So like, just always kind of thinking of maybe not a way around it, but just, you can offer a variety of things, whether it's what they think they're looking for or not, right? So just kind of always stay flexible and go from that.
There's definitely creative ways to address it. What Megan was referencing is her very first transaction was a walk-in to the Blue Valley office, and she made an incredible connection with this gal, and she was looking, like Megan said, for an experienced agent. That was her requirement. And Megan was able to make a connection with her, develop a relationship, and do her first transaction that way. And it was all about what? Getting up, showing up. Had she not been there, she wouldn't have gotten it. And I know many of you have, Farah and Ben have talked about almost identical.
It's funny, like, experienced agents aren't just sitting around in the office.
No, it was so weird. That's the only walk-in I've ever seen too.
That's
It
crazy.
doesn't happen often, the walk-ins, but it happens.
No.
It happens. Farah, what about you? First
I had a
transaction.
walk-in that was listed. So, oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, my first transaction was like a $80,000 house in KCK. And it was like a referral from a really good friend who's now like given me, like, I've like worked with her family now, and she's been one of the best. Like, I'm like, gosh, I've made like 50K off of like this one contact alone, just like all the referrals that she's like sent me. But yeah, that first one, and I like played it off, and I was like just really like hardcore, like agent, and like after the transaction was over, these people invited me to their housewarming party. And they were like introducing me, and they're like, and this was Farah's first transaction. I'm like, you guys knew? I thought they didn't know. I was. So yeah, it was kind of cool to like, they invited me to their housewarming party, and it was this cool thing. But yeah, the whole time I thought, I'm playing this off. They have no idea this is my first transaction, and they knew the whole time, and they were like excited about it. But
that's awesome.
And then they got like a year and a half later, and I sold the house twice. So. That's
pretty amazing. That's awesome. Yeah, and it's a good point though. You never know what one transaction is going to lead to. And it's sometimes those small ones can lead to bigger ones. So it's nothing to scoff at, that's for sure. Sarah.
I do the, I'm not sure. Let me find out about that for you quite often. If I don't know. Also hanging around the office and talking to agents that have been in the business 20, 30 years, I find out so much. Just kind of, learn from other people's mistakes type of thing. Not that I haven't made my own, which has definitely happened. But yeah, just learning from the plethora of knowledge that's around us all the time, and people not being at the office is kind of a bummer, because a lot of the people that we're all surrounded with are just really great people, that we're all in this boat together. And if somebody's having a down day, then somebody can like amp them back up. And honestly, our office is so incredibly fortunate because we have Kim Yenny, who is like this power punch of positivity all the time. Yeah. And she's fantastic. And so I miss being around, everybody and all that good stuff. But yeah, I just ask the people that all the knowledge at my fingertips, or I'll call them up or text them. And luckily my sister-in-law has been an agent for quite a while at BHG, so that helps too.
That you bring up a good point, and it's for those of you that are on this that have, I know there are several of you on here that have joined the company really in the last 4 or 5 months when we've kind of been on lockdown. And I say this all the time, but I mean it, and you hear it from them, that it's this company, the culture that's created is incredible, and it truly is. I mean, agents collaborating and willing to help, and that's a little bit difficult to see right now because you don't have people flocking to the offices, and for good reason. We don't want you to flock to the offices. We want you to be safe. But when we do get back to normal, that's a huge benefit of being a part of this company, is that culture and the collaboration you get when you're in the office. And if you're a newer agent, that's big takeaway from today is making sure that you're active in the office, and that's a huge way to jumpstart things.
I think honestly, like I went to different brokerages before I came over here to like talk to people, and I've been to the Northland office. I love the Prairie Village office, special in my heart. I love my office. But man, I'll tell you, every office, every broker, every person, I can't say every person, that's a lie, but 98% of the people that I've interacted with here have been amazing. Like they're always willing to help. Like I have my go-to agents here. I have Dan. I've called Dan probably 750,000 times this week, I think. And he's always available. And I know so many other realtors in the area that do not have that type of access to their brokers. And it's been super beneficial for me because I don't know anything from anything. So every time there's like a thing, I'm like, Dan, help! And he's been there, and man, we are so fortunate to be a part of this company. And the Ninja thing, which I don't know how much more time we have, but the Ninja thing was super important to my development as well. And I still have an accountability group with my Ninja cohorts. So if you guys are new agents, like do the Ninja thing, man. It's crazy. It's crazy good. So
that was my next question. It's like you have my questions.
I was going to follow up with what Ben said on both counts. The Ninja thing, I was in Ben's, I think. We just did ours in February.
Yeah.
And kind of a rough time, I think, to do it because we came out, we're all geared up, and then bam.
It did, yeah. And then everything's gone, yeah.
Yeah, like, just kidding, haha. But I waited.
You need a refresher.
Yeah, that would be lovely. But I waited.
Just thinking that today.
Yeah, I waited almost 3 years to do mine, and so glad I did it. I think the Ninja thing is beneficial to anyone, let alone all of the people at BHG. But I think our whole BHG family kind of, I mean, it's weird because the Ninja mindset is like, do good, love people, like do the right thing, be that person. And I feel like BHG as a company is that. So we're all really fortunate to be here, I think. And to the new people that are just now starting out, I would definitely say try to find a mentor or your broker or someone and stay. I know it's hard. You can't go into the office, because I think we all agree that being in the office and just listening and picking up on tidbits is priceless. But definitely find a couple agents that you can piggy tail on or help out, or go and just watch, follow, fill in. There's a lot of agents right now needing help because they're so swamped and they can't be 80 places at once. So I know that it's a great time to put yourself out there a little bit and help with opens or help with inspections or anything that you can do other than what we all did, which was try to just be present as much as possible. So that would definitely be helpful to anybody that, just like Christian said, in the last couple months has joined. I think would be super beneficial.
Absolutely. And if you need help in that regard, please reach out to myself or your brokers, and we can help hook you up with some agents in your offices that, for accountability, for, mentoring, shadowing. There's so many agents in the company that are willing to do that. So we talked about Ninja. There were a couple questions in chat. I don't know when the next Ninja course is going to be. David and I actually had a conference call with Terry Johnson on Friday, and they have not yet figured out a way to or are comfortable offering Ninja in a virtual format. Although for those that have been through Ninja, Terry is talking about, and we will be exploring this, about doing some group coaching virtually on a monthly basis. So stay tuned for those details as Terry gets us more information. I think for those of you that went through Ninja in February, it'll be that kind of refresher that you need and that jumpstart you need to kind of get yourself back up and going and pick up where you left off in February, when everything went to hell in a handbasket in March. We've got a couple minutes left. I'll open it up for questions on chat, and then anything the panelists want to add, your biggest aha moment, any advice that you have for someone getting started. What are some things that you wish you would have been told when you got in the business?
Just ask tons of questions, like not just your broker or other agents, but like once you get going on a deal, the title company, the lender, like we're all getting paid out of the same pot, and they should be just as motivated to help you out as everybody else is. And they can usually explain it quicker and faster than, if they're in the expertise of their area.
That is such a good point, John. My title gals keep me alive. Like, make good with your title people and get to know as many good lenders as you can. Because even if you're not using them, you can ask them and they're happy to help you. So that is some gold that I wasn't aware of until a couple transactions in. Your title people are very important in your life.
Amen. Amen. I think to stay away, try to coach your clients to stay away from online lenders, for the love of God. Like, I dealt with this place called Penny Mac. If you guys just please tell your clients to never do that. Just try to get them to understand why, though. You don't just tell them, help them understand why they need to try to use someone local or someone that you can get a hold of. Having a lender that you can get a hold of, having title people that you can talk to on a daily basis to get updates on the transaction is so important. Use people that you trust.
I just closed a Quicken Loans, guys, and it was the easiest. I mean,
really?
I will say, oh yeah, I'm not lying.
Wow.
They have heard that agents have it out for them, and they're trying really hard to repair their stuff. So I will say, I've noticed a lot of my buyers are coming pre-approved. And if that's the case, if they're not comfortable switching, then you kind of have to go slow there. And so I get what Ben's saying, but also, it just makes your job a little bit harder, but it can be done for sure.
Agreed. Any questions in chat?
I don't see any that have come up in chat. Surely you all have some questions for him. Surely. I know they probably want to hear more about wrestling, but we'll save that for another day.
Well, yeah. Well, and just to jump ahead of it, I use pomade. in my hair. That's what's
Thank
in
you.
my hair. I knew everyone was thinking, they're like, hey, Ben, what are you using here? It's
How do you
pomade.
get that poof?
Yeah, I blow dry. I actually blow dry it now. So
There you go. Tip of the day.
tip of the day, blow dry and then a little pomade. You're good to go.
All right, as we wind down, any panelists have anything else they want to add about, I'll pose one last question to you, and I know some of you have already answered it. I just said it a minute ago, but what do you wish you would have known getting into the business that you know now?
Okay, I'll unmute. There's birds they're so loud over here. I think it's like when I first started, I was so emotional and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want everything to go perfectly. And there's so many people that touch each transaction that there's so many things you don't have control over. And just like remembering that, like control what you do have control over, and take the emotion out. It's your job to not be emotional, because for your clients, for most people, this is going to be the most expensive sale or purchase of their life. And it's really emotional. Like you're coaching them through this really emotional thing. So it's your job to not be emotional and to take that out. And sometimes you just have to wait and just feel like it's going to be okay. And because there's things you can't control in every transaction. So,
That's so
and I
true.
did not know that
all the time.
I would get worked up and I would take it personally. And I'm like, this freaking agent won't call me back, or they were rude to me. And I'd be like, ugh. And I'm like, now I'm just like, it's fine. Like people yell at me sometimes. And I'm like, okay, are you finished yelling at me yet? Like, don't shoot the
100%.
the emotion out. It's not, and then, taking that information that you might have just gotten yelled at or whatever, and calming down, and then calling your agent or your client and being really calm about it and just relaying the information in the nicest way possible to help them through this really emotional sale for them.
I 100% second that. Like, I think too, as women, we're all just like, wow, we have to do everything right and perfect. And we take everything so personal. You guys, you're going to make mistakes. Like, here's the deal. I made the biggest mistake of my realtor career this year, and it was no fun. And my clients didn't even fire me. So let's just say we all do things that we wish we could have done differently at some point or another. Don't destroy yourself over it. We are human. We will make mistakes, correct them, move forward. I always try to handle every situation somewhat from the middle. I mean, we work for our clients, so we need to keep their best interest. But I always consider if the tables were turned, how would this look? What would this feel? And really, as agents, we can take a lot of that drama out of it by just making correct decisions and handling stuff. You guys, we have so much power to handle all the little things, and when we do, our clients are so grateful. So that would be my piece of advice. And to the new agents that I don't know, please feel free, if you have any questions, you may always reach out to me. I'm always available. So
speaking of the little things, try and get a hold of the actual move-in day details like a couple weeks out, because you're so concerned with just getting your buyer off the market and getting the house under contract, you forget that they're never going to remember if you put 5 o'clock possession on that thing, and then they're going to be like, well, we've got our truck scheduled for 10 and we need to move right after closing. And so and then the other agent's going to be like, no, we wanted its funding, you're going to have to wait. So get a hold of that actual move-in day stuff, especially if it's a contingent, because you've got a giant caterpillar basically of this person moves, this person moves, this person moves, and it can get hairy real fast. So get it before they order the moving truck.
Real quick.
Yeah.
I say listen, learn, and innovate. You have to, for me, podcasts have been super beneficial. Listening to the other agents that obviously know more than you. And even, always be open to suggestions. This is an ever-changing, ever-evolving business. And always open yourself up to learning stuff like Ninja. By the way, I thought Ninja was going to be a complete gimmick. And Dan, I don't know if Dan, if you're on here. Dan literally forced me to go. I hope he doesn't let me go because
I remember.
But it was literally 0 hour, Ben, you need to do this. I'm like, oh, fine. They're just going to tell me to be super positive. I'm already positive. I don't need any more of that. And it was completely different. So always be open to learning stuff and innovate, figure out the routes that nobody else is going and go, so And there's a lot of really great podcasts, and I'm also available to talk. I don't know anything. I've only been 7 months in the business, but if anybody needs, some help, I've learned some things along the way, so you can always call me too.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Well, panelists, thank you so much. This was awesome. You all did such an amazing job. I really, really appreciate it, as do I know all the people that joined us this morning. And as several of them mentioned, and I know they all feel the same way, that if anybody has questions, want help, please feel free to reach out to any of them, to your brokers, to myself. We're all here to help you, and we all want to thrive together and make sure that everybody is taken care of. So thanks for joining this morning. Panelists, thank you so much. You all were very gracious, and I appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us on.
Thank you. Have a good week, everyone.
Woohoo! Go watch wrestling. Just kidding.